Hi ladies and gentlemen, Raven back here again. Um, in this video, I'm going to discuss something that a couple of people have asked me because it just dawned on me that I have never really done a video in which I've never really done a video in which I've done, you'll have to excuse me, huh? I'm already distracted by the guys that I'm working with. Yeah, I've never in one of my videos discussed how I came to the point where I am at and exactly how I summon spirits and all of those things. Okay, if you go through my blog, my blog is more for, somebody did point that out, a customer that became that I became well acquainted with. I wouldn't say that we're friends, but we were acquaintances, at least in a period that he was a customer. And he did point out that the blog is more for occultists. Okay, if you're someone that doesn't know anything about the occult, then you'll have somewhat of a difficulty understanding sometimes what it is that I talk about on my blog, which is true. But again, as the about section on my blog states, the primary reason for my blog's existence is for being an online diary. Okay, so it's basically my own personal archive, my record keeping archive, in which I just neatly file and store away all information on all the spirits that I work with or potentially want to work with, or that I have engaged with or in. But yeah, I'm going to talk with you guys about, and again, as usual, you can find links to everything below. I'm going to put a link to the article in which I will share pictures and stuff like that. And if not, then I'm shooting this video first. This is not this video isn't directly linked to an article. Okay, I think I'm going to simply embed this video into an article itself and share it on my blog. And I'm also going to share pictures and related things that you guys, maybe one or two of you have already seen, but not every picture of back in the days as a beginner. And I'm just going to do this video to give you guys a scoop on exactly how I came to be where I am at this point. And I'm going to try to keep it as short as possible. I began as most occultists as just a dabbler, okay? And back then, I also did a bunch of stupid stuff, like talking out of my ass. I used to be it started when like I mentioned in previous videos, I always had an affinity for the occult, so I was pestered and bullied and bothered by spirits on a regular basis, at least once a year, because I have that affinity. I have the spiritual qualities and the character traits, okay, that makes it so that I am that I engage in the occult, okay, that I have an affinity for the occult, that I simply have an interest in the occult, a strong interest in the paranormal and so on. But it started when I was, let's see, this was approximately in 2014. This was 4 years ago, 4 to 5 years ago. And I'm 32 now. I was 27 back then, roughly stated 27. Up until that point, I only like doing things like reading ghost stories and hearing about paranormal stories that people have experienced while wallowing in a pool of my own misery, brought on by evil entities, okay, and by enemies that are proficient in magic or in witchcraft at the very least. Of course, those enemies have been dealt with. In any case, how I started is that I just got into the Order of the Golden Dawn's Facebook group. I just took part in the group and I went through their material and I just looked over a couple of things and so on. And as time passed by, let's just say half a year or something, I did what most occultists do, okay? I downloaded a bunch of free ebooks online, a bunch of PDFs, a bunch of grimoires and so on, and I read them briefly and so on. Okay, I just went through them and I did a bunch of stupid stuff, which I will freely admit. I'm not someone to literally brush anything under the rug. No. I will freely admit, if I look back now and if I think back to how I behaved back then, I just shake my head, but everybody has to start somewhere. I just behaved like a total idiot back then, like an asshat. I made a bunch of stupid comments in Facebook groups. I did a bunch of things, okay? that clearly indicated that I was someone that had little to no experience in being a serious occultist, okay? I just made stupid remarks. I was like basically an occult troll, to put it that way. I was a wannabe occultist. But even back then, I freely admitted to one of the moderators from that site, from that Facebook group, the Golden Dawn's Facebook group, that I was a beginner, you know, that I had zero experience. And I started getting serious after a while, after let's just say a year, started 2007 or something. And I remember I started the very first serious exercise that I undertook. I tried a different bunch of things, okay? My very first effort at doing something was working with a Ouija board. I bought a Ouija board, I ordered it online, I had it imported to my location, and I just tried working with it. And I remember, okay, the first time I tried to summon a spirit, I literally just put up a table, I lit incense, I washed the entire room with salt and garlic and so on, just general cleansing properties that remove negative energy and so on. And I sprinkled a layer of salt around the table, and I just went like when I think back, I literally, that's why you see me laughing right now. When I think back, man, that's one hell of a flashback. I literally just sat there and I went like, I hereby summon a spirit, show yourself to me, blah blah blah. And I tried that multiple times and nothing worked. Okay, and I was like, okay, that doesn't work. And after that, I tried a Ouija board, like I just said. I bought and imported a Ouija board. I don't have it anymore. I threw it away. Not that I need it anymore. And I did make contact, okay? Nothing worked the first time. And I went to look for information online. Why didn't it work? Why is this? Why that? And yeah, and then I read somewhere that you're supposed to infuse your energy with the board's energy, and then slowly you'll make contact, but you need to practice. And I practiced, and after a while I did make contact, and I think it was E.A. Kuwering that actually gave those tips. I made contact via the board with a guy called Hans Sim. Sounds like a German name, Hans Sim, Aansim, but nothing came of it, of course. I was able to get the guy's name, but I wasn't able to get anything, he didn't make any sense, the guy. I just got a bunch of random letters and numbers, and after a while, after 3 or 4 times asking him to be more clear or to be clearer, he just lashed out at me, and he said something along the lines of "kiss my ass." Back then, I still communicated with spirits in Dutch, or I still did my thing in Dutch. So what he said basically was "fuck off." Yeah, that's basically what it came in Dutch. What it came down to. He basically said "fuck off," and don't ask me these stupid questions. Don't continue asking me the same question over and over again. And the second he said that, I immediately went like this. I was like, whoa, okay, hostility. I simply apologized, and after that I closed up the board, and I also put it away, okay? I just shoved it into a corner. I just shoved it into a thingy above my bed. I shoved it into onto a piece of wood, let's just say a wooden plank, a support plank above my bed. And that is it. And I tried a couple of other things. I think the last thing I can remember that I tried back when I was a total dimwit was E.A. Kuwering's Black Sun exercise. I tried that Black Sun exercise only once, and I immediately realized that it wasn't for beginners. Why? Because I was completely knocked out for 2 days. It completely knocked me out mentally, and I was off my rocker for 2 days. I felt completely worthless and useless, and I just sat like a zombie, unable to move, completely paralyzed mentally. And after 2 days I recovered, and I was like, okay, so that's really not for beginners. And then it came, okay, back then I had I didn't do anything after that for a month or so. And then I started seriously working, I seriously started working, and I was like, I need a book to teach me the basics. I just need someone to teach me what I need to do, how I need to do it, in what way I need to do it, similar to a driving course, okay, similar to driver's education, driver's ed. And back then I stumbled upon the Greco or Greek American author Constantinus's book called Summoning Spirits, The Art of Magical Evocation. I was like, I basically came down to two books I had selected, either Modern Magic by the late Donald Michael Craig or Summoning Spirits by Constantinus. And I didn't like Modern Magic because Summoning Spirits by Constantinus is a lot more straight to the point, which I am, obviously. It's a lot more direct, a lot more straightforward and everything. And I just went with Constantinus's book. I literally walked through the entire book. I did everything. I mastered every exercise, everything. We're talking about astral senses and so on. In hindsight, no offense meant towards the author Constantinus, it's that book is GD flavored, as in it's Golden Dawn flavored. It's basically an old ritual set or an old series of exercise sets that the Golden Dawn employed. But again, that book is also an old book. I think it's from the 1990s or something. In hindsight, these books are, in hindsight, a lot of these exercises in that book, I will openly state that, are baggage. They're not necessary. I could easily state that now, okay? Looking back, even if I were to write my own book, I would have left a lot of things out, okay? We're talking about, but because people in general, like me, want the shortest, easiest, and the quickest way to learn the craft. Of course, you can't take shortcuts, okay? Rome wasn't built in one day, so great things take time. But you need, but believe me, a bunch of things in there, okay? You don't need any of these things. These things are baggage. But again, back then I didn't know any better, so I tried that, and I trained myself, and I sacrificed so much because a bunch of the magical implements that you need that are extensions of your will, a magic wand, a triangle of the art, all of those things. I had to fashion all of those things, okay, tatuas and so on, all of those things. I had to create all of those things or import those things, have them made and have them imported to my location from scratch. And believe me, it wasn't cheap, okay, especially based on the fact that I lived back then. I've been living on my own for 10 years. I was 22 when I left my elderly home, when I left my parents' house. So I did everything myself financially. So it took a tremendous toll on me financially. But nevertheless, I still managed to finish up with all of those delays in 9 months. After 9 months, I had mastered astral evocation and physical evocation. My focus was on physical and astral. I tried astral, nothing worked. I tried everything. I even started doubting myself. Hey, are my astral senses developed enough? Everything. I ran myself ragged, okay? Nothing worked. And after that, I switched over to physical evocation. I even sought help from other experienced magicians and spellcasters and asked them to cast a spell for me to see why it didn't work, or to help me, to basically give me a boost so that it does work, that I can successfully evoke. And believe me, for me it was literally, I'm either going to learn how to summon or I'm going to die trying. That is how much I care about it, okay? And I was like, nah, I'm either going to learn how to summon a spirit or I'm going to die trying to do so. I'm going to die trying to do so. And and back when after I did that, I tried physical evocation, and physical evocation also didn't work. I remember Raphael, the Archangel Raphael, ruler of the sun, Tiferet, blah, blah, blah. He's the first one I tried to summon. And believe me, evocation, from the way that book outlines it, not just that book, evoking in the traditional sense is, compared to what I do, difficult and extensive as fuck. Okay, I don't want to swear, but I need to emphasize how difficult it was. Just evoking one spirit, the ritual, the prerequisites towards that lead up to evoking itself, take at least half an hour. Okay, all the rituals you have to do, the lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram, the hexagram, the opening of the watchtower, all of those things, okay? All of the things that you had to memorize, recite, everything. All of that takes like half an hour, or at least half an hour, or maybe 45 minutes on average. And in any case, when I got down to it, it was like basically starting a car. The motor just won't start. It gives you some kind of faint hope that it's going to start, but it doesn't. And that's the case. The first time I tried to evoke was Raphael. And when I was standing in front of the triangle of the arc, and I basically told him, okay, now time to appear, blah, blah, blah. I hereby command you in the name of Elohim, the Almighty, blah, blah, blah. I saw a shadow. I saw a ball of light, a yellow ball of light, which is Raphael's aura, briefly appear, but it disappeared. It dissipated and disappeared as quickly as it appeared. Only for a few seconds. It was like, and then boom. I tried again after that, and nothing. I still remember. Wow, what a flashback! This was years ago. My body went cold when I saw that ball of light. I was like, wow, okay. But again, nothing. I tried numerous times after that. I tried to invoke several other spirits. Nothing. And after that, after a while, I just packed up my stuff. I still did things every now and then. I did an LBRP really quick. That's short for Lesser Banishing Ritual of the Pentagram. Most occultists know that. Most of you are familiar with that. LBRP, the BRH, Banishing Ritual of the Hexagram. Every now and then I did do those things to cleanse myself energetically and to basically cleanse my temple, my living room. I turned my living room that I didn't use into a temple. Nothing worked after that, but even after a while I just got tired of it and I just packed up everything. I literally just packed everything up in cotton fabric, and I just shoved it into a corner. I just put everything into a corner. I pocketed everything away neatly and nicely, and then I shifted to traditional grimoire magic. And the first and only operation I seriously tried was the Ars Paulina Part 1. Some of you might have seen the table of practice from the Ars Paulina. And the Ars Paulina is the reason I became an astrologer, because I tried doing it without astrology. And I didn't even know what an ascendant was, what a midheaven was. And I was like, nah, this is not going to work. I can't skim over this or take a shortcut. I have to learn astrology. And I found a book by a certain astrologer, an American astrologer called Hewitt. I forgot his name, John Hewitt or something. Mr. Hewitt, in any case, wrote a book called Astrology for Beginners. I worked with that book. I still have that book. The book is an excellent book. I worked with that book, and after I mastered astrology, it was natal astrology first. And back then I just offered astrological services for free, because I wanted to gain as much experience as possible. And I also learned dealing with worthless occultists or wannabe occultists or occult-based customers, because believe me, a bunch of these guys are a headache, okay? Again, a lot of parasites and vermin in the occult world, unfortunately. 90% of them. And just set aside the fact that they're ungrateful for the fact that you did something for free, which I pointed out to them. They'll start barking at you and tell you that you made a bunch of mistakes and so on. But again, it doesn't matter. That only made me stronger, and I mastered natal astrology first, and after that it became relocation astrology, comparison astrology, and after a good while I mastered horary astrology. And because horary astrology is the hardest to master, okay, because you need a lot of insight. Horary astrology, the absolute basics are all that you'll learn, but that's only 50%. The other 50% is pure insight. You need to know exactly what you need to attribute to what situation and what context, you name it. Okay, an astrological aspect, or a house placement, or anything can mean anything. Okay, it can go 1,001 ways. You just need to be able to make a correct estimate. It's like a gigantic math problem, okay, that almost nobody can solve. But I have no issues. I've already mastered it in and out, so that's not a problem for me. My previous post, Astrology and Tarot in the Occult, that article explains everything, okay? I make use of horary astrology by giving an example, as do I with measuring a spirit's power. You can look for those articles in my thingy. I'm not going to place them in the description below. You can look for those on my blog. This is just a short recap. In any case, once I mastered astrology, then I was able to make sense of everything. And then I had to figure out the whole confusion regarding calendars, because the Ars Paulina uses old style calendars, which is different from a new style calendar. In any case, I went over all of that. I had a huge table constructed by a construction company. I had it brought to my home, a huge circular round table. I went to buy the most expensive paint I could find, best quality paint. I literally followed all the instructions. I did everything and nothing worked. I tried repeatedly. It didn't work. It did not work. And I was like, okay, so the instructions, committing to the instructions alone are not enough. Just doing what's written down there in the Lesser Key of Solomon, that part is not enough. Okay, you need to do additional things. Okay. I also covered that in the video called the Ars Paulina, which is embedded in the article of the same name or title, the Ars Paulina Part 1. In any case, after that, I also basically hung up my robe regarding traditional grimoire magic. And I forgot that book. What's that book called again? I forgot the author of that book. Hold on for a second. Oh, motherfucker. This book, I love this book, okay? If you guys, it took me like half a year to find this book. It's called Practical Astrology by Gerald L. Keane. It's a PhD. I think it's an American. Yeah, it's an American an astrologer. She's an American astrologer. Yeah, this book is great, okay? This is what the cover looks like. As you can see here, Practical Astrology. Of course, it's going to be the other way around. In any case, that's what it's called. Again, Practical Astrology by Gerald L. Keane. That's Keane. And this book is just amazing, okay? This book is the book out of which I work. I still work today when I want to know an exact degree, the definition of a degree. This book has descriptions on each degree. For example, 1 degree in 0 to 1 degree in Aries, what it means. 20 to 21 degrees in Capricorn, what that means, it makes all the world a difference, okay? It took me, this book is from the 70s, it was not easy to find. I basically had all the thingies scanned. I had that chapter with astrological degrees, what the degrees mean. That entire chapter, I had that scanned completely, and that's what I work on my computer, as well as Astrology for Beginners. And it was when I bought this book and when I started working with exact degrees and I took a look again at my natal chart, that's when I found out that my strength lies in invocations and not evocations. Yeah, because my thingy, in my natal chart, the sun was 6 degrees in Libra when I was born. And 6 degrees is a psychic aspect. I know it by memory. That psychic aspect stands for me having the magnetic quality of drawing spirits to me. And the kind of spirits that I draw to me, or the kind of forces that I draw to me, are dependent on my own outlook. And I am a pessimist, okay? I'm not the optimistic type, as most of you know. I'm a melancholic, serious kind of person. And ergo, or hence, me attracting a bunch of spirits to me that do nothing but cause me pain and misery. Okay, let's just say malevolent entities. In any case, after I knew that, I saw that, I was like, okay, nah. Because aside from what I just said, it also indicates that I'm an invoker, that energy passes through me. Okay, that I'm like a lightning conductor, and I'm like a medium. And I was like, okay, so that means that I have my specialty lies in invocations and not evocations. So that's why evocations don't work. I also had a bunch of other readers, 1 or 2 other readers, do readings on me for why this won't work. And I still remember, even back then, I wasn't knowledgeable on astrology, on tarot card readings whatsoever. But every time that Fool card kept popping up in terms of evocation, will I be successful in evoking? As outcome, every time I got that Fool card, and I was like, hey, that's not right, the Fool card, right? And God, I hate the Fool card. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. That is one of the worst cards, okay, for me personally. The second I see the Fool card, that card is nothing but pain and misery, especially if that card in a 6-card spread, if that card in a traditional 6-card spread that I do, I forgot what it's called again. Just a normal 6-card spread. If the outcome is labeled as the Fool, if you get that card, the Fool spends nothing but pain. Okay, the note's nothing but pain and misery. So in hindsight, also the cards also told me that okay, you can do whatever you want. You're basically like somebody butting your head against the wall or banging against a stone wall, thinking that if you bang hard enough that you're going to break a way through, you're going to be able to break your way through, but that's not the case. So I changed everything back then, and I remember after that I heavily focused on astral traveling. And one other thing, that's also why all the other, and I literally just analyzed myself over and over again, okay? I literally revisited everything over and over again. And I was like, I don't know why this doesn't work or why that doesn't work. But I said to myself, now I understand. That's why everything leading up to evoking or evocation works, okay? Except for evocation itself. Because I had no issues with the other rituals, okay? The middle pillar, lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram, ritual of the hexagram, all of those things work just fine. I felt energy passing through me when doing with the middle pillar ritual. I felt energy literally going, as I guided it, I felt energy going out of my hand. So everything worked just fine because those are more invocatory rituals. These rituals have their basis in invocation. Whereas with evocation, you're literally calling forth a force outside of you, an external force. You're not having it pass through you. That's the difference between invocation and evocation. With invocation, you're basically, figuratively speaking, you're letting electricity pass through you in order for you to guide it where you want it to manifest. But with evocation, it's just saying, hey, electricity appear. That's what it's like. And yeah, and after that, I heavily, like I said, I started astral traveling heavily. And that's when I visited, aside from visiting the elemental spheres, like on those tattvas are indicated, I visited all 5 elements, spirit, and the 4 other traditional ones, earth, air, fire, water. All of those work just fine, because I did that as a beginner. I still remember those. I visited the Tree of Life and the Tree of Death, and I visited the Tree of Life numerous times, I think 3 or 4 times. I visited the Tree of Death once or twice. I visited it twice, but I never got to Taumiel, the aspect that Satan rules over or that he shares rule over with Moloch. I think I climbed the tree up until Samael or something. I'm sorry, I just ate. I climbed it up until Samael or something. But I didn't get to the upper cliff huts. And it was then that I thought about adopting a patron, and I thought about either Michael or Samael. And both of them, Michael visited me a couple of times to basically rally me to his side. And Samael did that too, my beloved Lord Samael. It's obvious now which choice I've made, because Samael was really insistent, and he told me it would be an honor if you were to work with me. And yeah, when I remember every time I astral traveled, every time there he was. He came all the way to he came all the way to where I was. For example, if I were to visit one of the Sevira, he came all the way to that Sevira. And I remember I could see him flying away and everything even. Okay. It doesn't matter which Sevira I visited. I could visit Yesod, I could visit Hod. Those are the names for the moon and Mercury, Kabbalistically speaking. And he visited me. And that's when I said, you know what, I'm just going to invoke, okay? And after I also bought a book on possession to see if I'm able to allow myself to become possessed. But no, that also doesn't work, because I'm an invoker. Energy passes through me, but to have energy just stay inside me, nah, that doesn't work. So just generic traditional possession, becoming possessed or letting yourself be ridden by a spirit, okay, is in voodoo and so on, in the voodoo pantheon. No, that's not for me. And then I just got to it. That's how it all started. I said to myself, okay, I want to work with Samael, okay? And it was when I astral traveled to Gebura, is when he showed me his true form, because the way that I was taught, and a lot of improper things that are taught too, is that not Samael rules Gebura, but the Archangel Kamael, and they're one and the same, okay? Kamael is just a mistake that was made. Aaron Leach does that in one of his videos, in one of his articles. He explains that, yeah, in Hebrew, I'm not familiar with Hebrew. I'm in the sense of I don't speak Hebrew. I haven't mastered Hebrew. I'm not Hebrew literate, but yeah, he did explain it, okay? That basically in the grimoires, it was the sources that made a mistake. They basically confused the S, or they mistook the S for a K, or the other way around, and they basically mistake the Caleb with something else. The K in Hebrew is Caleb. In any case, it's supposed to be Samael and not Kamael. And that's when he showed me the real thing, and he showed me this is who I really am. And he fused together, okay? And he was like, Samael and Kamael are one. I am one and the same, Morino, okay? Understand that. Okay, I am both. And he showed me the real Gebura, because before then, when I visited Gebura, I only saw Kamael, which was like a normal angel with green wings and everything, and Gebura was just a normal landscape. Just a normal landscape with a beach and vegetation and so on. But Gebura itself, after he really showed me Gebura is one hell of a battlefield. Gebura is like the end of the world. It's like the Norse, it's like the Christian Ragnarok, okay? It's like the end of the world. Everywhere is fire, volcano, and it's one gigantic war with everybody fighting with swords and like two medieval armies going at it non-stop. That's what Gebura is like. I'm getting hot just thinking about it, okay? And he's standing right beside me. He's telling me, go ahead, I don't want to disturb you, go ahead. And I'm literally getting hot just thinking about Gebura. After that, I just erected an altar, and I said to myself, I'm going to make offerings. The altar similar to the one that's standing behind me. The table is the same. I never changed the table. I never bought a new table. I just I put up a picture of him and everything. I placed the picture in a frame. I added candles, just the basic things, incense and so on. And man, I'll never forget that first invocation. When I first invoked him, that's my very first article, working with the destroyer. He just appeared, and he was like, he just appeared, and all hell broke loose in my living room. It was like the entire living room was shaking, and I wasn't scared, but I really felt intimidated. And then he appeared to me like a gigantic dark shadow with eyes, a malevolent looking entity. And he literally just went across the table like this, in slow motion, right in front of me, in the same way that I'm sitting right now. He literally just passed by like this. It's like somebody walking right in front of you, boom, past you. And it was just wow. I was like, whoa, okay. In any case, but back then he wasn't vocal, because I wasn't proficient yet, okay? That was just a taste, a small, minor, minuscule taste of power that he gave me. And that's it, basically. That's my first successful invocation. As time passed by, he became vocal, okay? I just did my thing. I made offerings whenever I wanted to know something, what he thinks about something. I would simply use astrology. I would simply cast an orrery chart to know what he thinks about it. For example, does he agree with me or this? Would he like it if I offered him a bit of my blood? And then the answer would be no, just as an example. These are questions that I'm just highlighting as an example. I didn't really ask him that in the beginning. That's how I found out what he was thinking and so on. And I remember that one of the first things that, the first time that he became vocal, the very first time, was when I, the very first time that he became vocal was when I was planning on taking away one of the tasks that I had assigned to him. I had basically written on paper in exchange for making rituals and offerings to you and my lifelong devotion to you, and my existential long devotion. I want you to get me these things, you know, protect me, mental and physical health, strength, and so on. I had all of that neatly put on paper like an oration, and I had it on this altar. Right now, it's still there, but I don't use it because it's not necessary anymore. I'm not a beginner. All of these things are like crutches that you're using. Okay, they're like supporting wheels on a tricycle that you use if you want, if you're a beginner. But I'm way past that, so I don't need any of that stuff anymore. I don't need orations or any of that. And I remember I told him, I just went to the altar and I told him I am going to remove this task from you, and I am going to try that with another spirit. And that's the first time he became vocal. All of a sudden I felt myself cramping up completely. I literally felt all of my nerve endings just jump up, and I felt completely paralyzed mentally because he is the one doing that. And I heard him then, and he was like, I heard him in the sense of why. I first heard a faint soft voice, why? And I told him because I told him why not? And then he was like, because I want to gain more experience. Right now you're taking work away from me, which I don't like. And that's it. The rest is basically, that's basically where my blog starts, okay? After that, I started working with Klaunek, the infernal spirit from the Grimorium Verum Klaunek, for financial prosperity, and that's literally where my blog starts. If you guys don't want to know exactly what happens after that, then you'll have to read all the articles starting at the bottom. The very first article, Working with the Destroyer. That's where my story as an occultist, as a successful occultist, starts, because that's where that's where it all began for me. That's where my rise to ascension and to power began, divine power. That's basically where my ascent to divinity began. But yeah, he did everything, okay? I love the fact that he got me results right away and everything, okay? Before Samael, my beloved Lord Samael, I was on the near constant attack, okay, esoterically speaking. I had enemies that are proficient in magic, like I said in the beginning, that sent wave after wave of curse and evil entity my way. I had, due to the fact that I also engaged in magical activity, I had a bunch of nosy and annoying spirits visiting my apartment. The second I started working with him, boom, all of that stopped. Offense and defense, protection and everything, boom, right away. Okay, he immediately shielded me. I remember I felt the entire layer of protection over me. I even feel it now, of course, but right now I'm so used to it that I hardly notice. But I remember back then I clearly noticed the difference, and I was like, hey, I can feel that layer of protection around me. I can feel him protecting me. Okay, I feel a gigantic shield around me. Okay, a gigantic esoteric bubble around me. And I also remember one of the evenings that I woke up in the dead of night, 4 a.m. briefly, and I saw him stand over me, but he took on the appearance of a medieval knight, and he was literally just standing guard over me, or he either sent one of his guys to stand guard over me. No, he says one of his guys. He says it's one of his guys that he sent back then to thingy over me, to preside over me. And let's see, what else? Yeah, my entire apartment was completely quiet. No annoying nosy spirits anymore. No attacks from enemies anymore. Nothing. All of that stopped. Boom. Complete peace and tranquility and calm and coolness. And I don't have to point out that he also destroyed all of my enemies. My enemies have already been dealt with by him accordingly. Okay, Rome wasn't built in one day. He openly told me that too. So, okay, these people will fall in time. okay, but not right away. Some have fallen right away, but others, they will fall with time, okay, and they will pay for their wrongdoings against me in the long term, and they'll regret it for the rest of their lives. And that's basically it. That's how my entire story began. So for all of you that are wondering how I came to be to this point where I am, okay, whether I started with just general Solomonic thingy with a magic mirror and scrying, because someone asked me that yesterday via my website, my blog. Somebody filled out the contact form, and I got that email, and a person asked me, how did you all begin? How did you start with all of this? And how do you exactly summon? Do you use a magic mirror? Do you use Solomonic techniques and all of that? And that's basically the purpose of this video. So now you guys know my occult life story, from the point that I was an absolute beginner to basically the beginning of my merit as an occultist, and the rest you can see is on my in terms of experiences, and my work is on my blog. That's all.